Hello and happy Friday from Southport, North Carolina. This is Julian here with my Tuesday talks now on Friday. It's been that kind of a week. I wanted to talk to you today about automobile liability insurance from a personal injury attorney's perspective. A lot of people don't really understand auto liability insurance. I wanted to break it down and kind of simplify it for you. And obviously answer any questions that you have about it. So liability insurance with respect to automobiles is mandatory in North Carolina for all drivers. And the minimum limits for bodily injury, which are obviously for medicals and pain and suffering with respect to car accidents, is $30,000 per person and $60,000 total per accident, which isn't a lot. But again, you can purchase more coverage than that, but that's the minimum that the state requires. Now, also, there's property damage liability coverage, and that's to repair an automobile if you're at fault. And the minimum limits there are $25,000. And of course, you can purchase more than that. I get a lot of questions. People don't really understand the difference between uninsured motorist coverage and underinsured motorist coverage. So uninsured coverage is if you are injured or you have property damage in a wreck involving a driver that had lapsed insurance or just never had insurance in the first place. And if that happens, you have a minimum of that 30/60, just like your bodily injury policy. You obviously can purchase more, but it mirrors that bodily injury policy. Underinsured, on the other hand, is optional. You can reject underinsured coverage. So if you're in an accident and the driver that hits you doesn't have enough insurance to cover your damages, your underinsured would come up and get involved up to that amount of that purchase and only to that amount. So having a 30/60 underinsured makes no sense at all. You would need at least 100, 300, or even an umbrella policy for it to make sense in an underinsured situation. There are also many other additional optional coverages. I think most attorneys would advise you to get medical payments coverage or MedPay coverage on your policy to pay your medical bills up to that amount, regardless of fault in an accident. If you're at fault, if you're not, MedPay comes in and covers medical expenses up to that amount, even if you have health insurance coverage. Another optional coverage is collision and comprehensive, and a lot of people don't understand the differences between those. Usually, if you financed a car through a bank or an auto dealership, they require the collision and comprehensive coverage. Collision comes from accidents involving the collision of vehicles, either with an object or another vehicle. And is up to a certain amount. The comprehensive involves non-collision related losses, theft, vandalism, fire, natural disasters, floods, and usually comprehensive and collision replace up to the reasonable value of that vehicle. And if you have just recently financed a vehicle, a lot of times the value of it is not going to be what you paid for it the moment you drive it off a lot. So you're advised to get something called gap insurance coverage on that property value, which covers the difference between what it's worth and what you paid for that. And it's not very expensive, but very well advised for new vehicles. Also, towing and labor coverage is an additional optional coverage you could have, or rental car reimbursement. And all well advised. If you have any questions, call my friend Rob Potter here in Southport. He's been here for 26, 27 years. Always trust the stash. And if you need a personal injury attorney, you know where I am. Have a good weekend, guys. Julian signing off.